a big idea, but I honestly think that the hospitality of God or the garden was a place where perfection is not a prerequisite for belonging. And although theologically we've made that the case in terms of how we think about relationship with God, that like that the garden had to be a no judgment zone. And a no judgment zone is just that we attach value to difference. Who told you you were naked? Like who attached value to your sense of being? Who told you that that was something that should make you hide? And so to me, I think what I'm the picture I'm seeing in that garden scene is very much that like the love of God is really truly a non-judgmental love. You belong, and that limitation is not going to mitigate belonging. Limitation can just be limitation. It doesn't necessarily have to have value attached to it. And I think that to me, when we start attaching value to difference or even limitations, then that's where you start having the introduction of shame. And to me, justice needs to speak to shame and it needs to speak to the ways that we've attached value to difference and otherness, or vulnerability even. So I know I'm still trying to like kind of comb through these concepts in my head because I'm trying to communicate them, but I feel very deeply that there's a foundational conversation that we need to have about vulnerability and limitation. And what do those mean, and what is God's posture towards that? And there are other living things in this garden, and
Mhm.
a lot of times what's happening is, this tree can't speak for itself, so God sets a boundary, and that boundary is violated, and so there are consequences that take place, which is justice, right, for those who cannot speak, right? Lift up your voice for the voiceless. But at the same time, I don't think it was necessarily related to. I think what's happening in the garden could teach us a lot about hospitality and belonging and how we collectively unfold. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, who told you you were naked? Who made this shameful for you? And really, it's just about vulnerability. So again, like if God is hospitality, then God has to be vulnerable. Like there's no other way to have belonging without vulnerability. And justice presents itself when someone who is less limited uses their resources to make wrong things kind of right.
Mhm.
So like I feel like if our hospitality is marked by justice, it should be about like what is in the way of belonging and vulnerability, and how do I use resource to how do I use the resources I have to make the wrong thing right, to eradicate shame or inequity or otherness that causes shame. Like, so it's all theoretical, but I do feel like I'm trying to live that out in my everyday practice, that there is no difference between me and you. And actually, that's the lie. And if I really believe that, then even have to show up to people who would call me their enemy or that I see as my own enemy and say, there's more to both of us than this. And that proactive kindness is justice, actually, is kind of how I've been kind of thinking about it and really honestly trying to live these days. I'm not doing it perfectly, but that's what I'm trying to, and I'm trying to believe this and really do it, and I've seen great fruit.